welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. It's also America's #1 sports app. I'm Johnny Venerable here on this post-Tuesday, 4th of July. No Frank Sanders yet. He's having technical difficulties, but I am joined by producer extraordinaire Emma Clark, alone, it seems, in the PHNX studios. Everybody take off for the 4th. You can get time off? What's going on?
I don't know, Johnny. I don't know. Yeah, we have Leah, Jacob, and Craig. They just flew out to Montreal to cover the NHL draft, and then we have Shane coming back tonight from his little birthday vacation.
Ooh,
a little jealous.
Can't wait to hear about that. Yeah,
I know. And then he'll be back for like a couple of days, and then he flies right back to Vegas for the Summer League.
Lot going on, a lot of moving parts. I jest, but we're all working hard. We're all grinding. Except for me, I worked hard in a different way over the past 48 hours. I drove my 2 kids and my lovely wife and our 2 dogs across the country, 24 hours. I'm not in my usual studio. I'm here in my parents' not guest room. This is their home office where I'll be doing shows for the next couple of weeks as we prep for training camp. Yes, this is producer Emma. It is a rare appearance, Josh Hunt. We are waiting for Frank Sanders, but we're going to get this party going. Anyway, you saw it. We teased it. The top 5 Arizona Cardinals heading in to 2022. And Emma, as I composed my list, certainly it was not easy. There are some givens as it relates to this group. There are the national names everybody's going to know. It's just what order you want to put them in. And then there are a couple spots that I think are very much interchangeable with about 5 to 7 guys. And I think that's going to be the most interesting facet of this top 5. And frankly, I'm going to go ahead and get things started with my number 5. Now, who would you guess maybe is in my top 5? You want to throw out some names potentially?
I have a feeling that you're definitely going to drop Larry for sure.
Now, I'm talking current Arizona Cardinals. Current entering this season. Yeah.
Gotcha. You're for sure going to put Kyla Murray.
Yeah.
And I would say
probably
top
in there.
2.
Yeah.
D-Hop, maybe?
I think that's a good guess. Loto Capone says top 5 Emmas on PHNX Sports Go. All right, how about, Emma, your top 5 at Go PHNX as we wait Frank Sanders? Could you do a top 5?
Top 5 people?
Yeah. If we want to cut deep here on this impromptu show.
I really like my job, so I don't know if it's safe to do that, but
that's fair.
I'm on here, so let's make it a little spicy.
Okay. All right. I'm number 1. Now, who's number 2?
Number 2. Ooh. I'm going to get so much backlash. Leah.
Great choice. Firm top. She's firm top 3 to 5 for me. Easily.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you want to do this kind of like a snake draft wise?
Yeah. I'll go back and forth. Some of my favorites. I have to say Mr. Shane Diefenbach is firmly in my top 5. I can compliment him because he's not here. But I host a show with him every day, PHNX Bets Daily Podcast. And so I feel remiss if I didn't include him. So Leah's off the board. Shane's off the board. I'm off the board, even though I'm in this draft. So you're up next, Miss Emma.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and pick Sean.
Okay. Sean, great choice. Joined the company back in December, has already made a staple on. You can catch him every day on the PHNX Sun Devil show, I believe. Going down at 1:00 earlier today. I'll go back. He's on the board. He's an A+ player. The GM Saul Bookman. When it gets the last here, he is also my co-host on the PHNX Tailgate show every Sunday morning in the fall. You'll have to check that out. Emma, I'm going to give you one more pick, then I'm going to give you my final pick, and then we're going to talk a little Cardinal football. Okay?
All right. I'm gonna go. I'm going to step outside the box of the producers.
Okay.
I'm going to
It's tough. Man.
I'm going to go Gerald simply because when I first got here as an intern, I made a couple of graphics of him.
Yeah.
And he was a really good sport of those. Those were not the most pleasant graphics to look at. If those graphics were made of me, I would not be
feeling it. Yeah.
He took it like a champ. So I'm gonna put Gerald on the hot seat.
He's a sweetheart. Great guy, tremendous content. You can, the girth, according to Josh Hunt, excellent choice. You can check out his work right now. Go PHNX.com. He is basically, what's the word I want to say? He's the number one Suns writer in the business right now when it comes to everything Kevin Durant and this, crusade we're on trying to get Kevin Durant to the Valley. So if you want to check that out, as well as the talented work of my many peers, you can check that out at GoPHNX.com. Become a member, 50 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent months, Emma, or you can become a member for the full year, just under $60. Get a free t-shirt from our PHNX merchandise locker. You can also grab one of those fresh lids that Emma's rocking, just under $30 as we await Frank Sanders, but we got to get this party started anyway. His computer, God love Frank and technology, running updates. Now would seem like not an opportune time to do that. But I'm going to give you my top 5, Emma Clark, Arizona Cardinals entering the 2022 season as I see it. And I think it's more interesting, Emma, to go 1, then 2, 3, 4, and 5, because I think, again, 4 and 5 are going to surprise some people. I have my list here. I wrote it out. Okay, here it is. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I did, I do some prep work for our show. Number 1, of course, is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, not just because he's the quarterback, not because it's the most important position in football, because at the end of the day, if the Cardinals want to win and they want to win big, the best overall player on the team has to be Kyler Murray. And I think that will be the case this year. I think we're going to get the best version of Kyler Murray, MVP level Kyler Murray. If he stays healthy for 17 games, and I think he's going to, after he gets this mega deal, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, records are going to fall. He's going to be in the MVP race. And I think you get 17 weeks of Kyler Murray, you're making the playoffs, you're a contending team. I can't really say that about everybody else. I would love 17 games, an elite level from J.J. Watt, but I don't know if that necessarily means I'm going to make the playoffs. If I get Kyler Murray, the best version of Kyler Murray for 17 weeks, we're Super Bowl, contenders in that sense, that being the Arizona Cardinals. So Kyler Murray is number 1 on my list. Number 2, going back and forth. Now, the first 3 are very much a given. I would love to hear from the people in the chat. Give me your top 5. Let's see it in the comments here. Number 2 is Buda Baker, and it's slight edge over DeAndre Hopkins for a couple different reasons. He's a homegrown talent. He's younger. I believe his best football is still in front of him, right? He's the leader of the Cardinal defense. I love DeAndre Hopkins, but at the same time, Kyler Murray has to be that leader moving forward. Whereas, we saw against the LA Rams in the playoff loss last year when Buda Baker was struck, in the helmet by Cam Akers, and everybody rushed to his aid because that's how much he means to that Cardinal defense. So heart and soul, he's the best drafted quarterback that they've taken in the first couple of rounds in how many years, 5 or 6 drafts. It's really Kyler Murray and Buda Baker are really the 2 tent poles of this franchise. One on offense, one on defense, separated by just 2 drafts. And I think Buda Baker, at the end of the day, you're going to look at his numbers historically. You're going to look at his accolades and you're going to say, is this guy a Hall of Famer? I think we're definitely on that route. And that brings me to my number 3 choice, Emma, as it relates to the Arizona Cardinals' top 5 players for 2022 is DeAndre Hopkins. I hope that we get DeAndre Hopkins after 6 games motivated. The DeAndre Hopkins that we all know and love, the DeAndre Hopkins that was the Hail Murray catch from 2 years ago, somebody that is on a record-setting pace before this injury last year, before the suspension. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think DeAndre Hopkins comes back with a vengeance. I think he makes the Cardinals well aware of their investment and proud of that investment in the second half of the season. And who knows, it may end up winding up to be a good decision that, hey, we've got a healthy Hopkins for the stretch 1 run of the season where we're always struggling, right? When I get to some of these comments here, Josh Hunt has Murray, Baker, Connor, Moore, and Hopkins eventually. I like that group. I also think I was talking with somebody earlier before the show, Josh. I think Trey McBride is going to be somebody, just based on what I'm hearing surrounding him and the team, 2 to 3 years down the line, second-round pick out of Colorado State, the tight end, that's going to be in this group eventually. That's how high I am on this young man. And so I think right now, as we welcome Frank Sanders, by the way, there are some young players that don't necessarily crack my top 5, but at the same time, they could blossom into top 5 players for the Arizona Cardinals. Frank, good hell, what do we got going here?
I'm going to give him a minute to get set up. And
you're going to give him a hot minute. Well, that's good because I really didn't get into the tease of my list here. Everybody knows top 5 in whatever order you want. Kyler Murray, Buda Baker, DeAndre Hopkins as Mr. Frank Sanders gets situated. I want to remind everybody, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. There's plenty of MLB action you can bet on right now. You can also bet on Kevin Durant becoming the newest member of the Phoenix Suns at -110, the heavy favorite. Stay away, Boston. Stay away, Toronto. Let's make some money on DraftKings by making Kevin Durant a member of the Phoenix Suns right now. Again, you make your first deposit, you get a $100 risk-free bet instantly. So if this is your first time ever on DraftKings, you get a $100 risk-free bet. Put it on Kevin Durant to become a member of the Phoenix Suns. You will prosper. That's promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. So we lost Frank. We thought we had him. We lost Frank. So I'm going to go throughout the rest of my list. Before I do that, Emma, Low Tone Capone, one of our faves here on PHNX Cardinals podcast. He's got K1, Connor, Hopkins, Hollywood, and Simmons. That's a great list. Joining the program, my favorite wide receiver, Mr. Frank Sanders. Don't worry about it. We're cruising here, my man. So we're doing our top 5 Arizona Cardinals, right? Entering 2022. I will give you my first 3. I will recap. Then I want your first 3, and then we're going to continue on. So here is how I had it. Kyla Murray, number 1. Buda Baker, number 2. DeAndre Hopkins, number 3. Please respond with your top 3, Mr. Sanders. As we have his notebook in focus, so you know he's grinding. He's on the grind. Let's see it. What's your top 3, Frank?
I gotta go, boys. Boys. Frank, buddy, first of all, I expected more. Get the notebook out of there, bud.
Producer Emma held down the fort. Frank, you're on the clock. Let's go.
Emma, thank you so very much. Look, I apologize for all of that shenanigans. My bad, JV. I did hear you. I did listen to what you was talking about, but my concern is that we're talking about the top 5 players on the Arizona Cardinals, and I think we're listening from the position of the stardom. Now, with the top 5 names are the ones that you call the top 5 names.
Top 5 players, like our best players. Top 5 means best. Let me hear your best. Best in regards to, athletically and position-wise, and I guess their past performance of what they've been able to do. Kyla Murray, D. Hops, and the last one you said was? DeAndre Hopkins was 3. Buda Baker was 2. Those are my big 3. Now, I went back and forth, Buda 2 or 3 or D. Hop. That's interchangeable. If DeAndre Hopkins is not suspended coming into the season, he's probably number 2.
It's hard to go against the best guys that, you're talking about. DeAndre Hopkins, Pro Bowler, 7-time Pro Bowler, if even just that number alone. And then you giving Kyla Murray 2-time Pro Bowler and one of them top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL in the top 10. I'll say top 10.
In the top. Yeah.
That's respectable for what he's been able to do in the NFL thus far. I feel like I'll just be chiming in the same top 5 people, and I don't want to do that.
We haven't gotten to 4 or 5 yet. So I want your top 3.
My top 3 on the team right now, players, is definitely going to be just accolades alone and what they've been able to accomplish. Of course, Kyla Murray, he's been definitely pretty special. D. Hops, since he's been in the league, he's been dominant, and he's absolutely just such a godsend to the Arizona Cardinals since we picked him up. He's been absolutely dominant. And again, I mean, J.J. Watt, but a healthy J.J. is the guy that I would love to see, and I have to put him on there, but I have to agree with you too, because Buda Baker is the guy that in some respects right now, he has shown up to be a diamond in the rough, a guy that's taken over the defense. He's come out and been an asset. He's been a Pro Bowler year after year, and he's absolutely been a commander of the defense secondary that's back there.
All right, so rank them. Rank your top 3. I want to hear your top 3. You just named 4 people. So is Kyler your number 1? This is not that hard.
It is very hard because that's not where I want to go, man. Use like the top 5 players.
Yeah, but this is where we're going. This is our show, and I make the rules, and I want you have to rank. If somebody Michael Bibble says I got to cut everybody but 5 players, and I want you to rank them for me of who are the best that you want to go to battle with this fall 2022. That would be the envy of the rest of the NFL. Is Kyler Murray your number 1 player?
Kyler Murray is my number 1 player without a doubt.
Okay, and who's number 2?
Why are you smiling? I don't like that.
I want to hear your list. I want to play the game. We're not even halfway through this yet. This is going to take forever.
That's okay, because I said it means more to me than just say the top 5 players. Look, if we're going to start outside of that guy, I'm going with Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, number 2 for me. A tight end in the NFL
What?
is hard to beat. I'm going with Kyla Murray, number one.
Okay.
My number two guy is Zach Ertz. You're talking about a just
Okay.
prominent guy. And a tight end in the NFL is almost like having a receiver, but he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster than pretty much anybody that's covering him. I can't say the same for DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, who's number 3? It has to be either Buda or Hopkins, right? For number 3?
Don't coach me. Let me coach myself.
Okay.
Apparently, I went Zach Ertz, so don't coach me.
That's all right. Could be different.
Look, if it's me and I'm going right now, I'm taking Rondale Moore. Yeah, I'm taking Rondale Moore with D-Hops. I figure I could do more with him, kick return, punt return, as well as coming out of the backfield. He's definitely an RPO status by himself. The Wildcat offense, he can run, he can do it. If I'm starting that, I'm going with my tight end. I know it sounds crazy, but when I'm looking at what they bring to the table, I'm a little bit limited if on my outside version, if it's just D-Hops. Great receiver, outstanding receiver. But I got a guy that can do multiple things. I'm taking Rondale Moore.
Well, listen, it's unconventional, but I don't hate it in the sense that if the Cardinals want to have success this year, Rondale Moore and Zach Ertz have to be a big part of that. So I understand that. And it's unconventional, which I love. It's good for the show. That doesn't mean it's correct. My list, I feel like, is much more correct. But to each their own. Number 4 for me, again, I went with the conventional Kyla Murray, D-Hop, Kyla Murray, Buda Baker, D-Hop. Number 4 for me is a former free agent that the Cardinals signed last offseason. I never would have thought he'd be a top 5 Cardinal, but you cannot argue with his results last year. You cannot argue with the impact he had on the team, especially as it relates to just the dominance in the red zone, short yardage. James Conner, to me, he is not the MVP of the team, but he was damn well close last year to Kyler Murray and to Buda Baker and some of those guys. You know, Christian Kirk had a nice season. James Conner and the presence he has in the locker room and the way he cultivates the locker room, I can't say enough good things about him. I don't give a about his yards per carry, but when you have almost 20 touchdowns in today's NFL, which is predicated really on the pass, teams don't want to run the ball. He is so physical, and the presence he commands and what he does to opposing defenses, and he was really the advocate for the Cardinals going 2-1 in Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins' absence. I am putting, it may only be for 1 year, and I don't know how he's going to do this year. He's got to tote the rock for the majority of the time. There's no Chase Edmonds, right? We'll see what happens with some of these other guys. Eno's had a nice offseason. Darrell Williams. He's going to get 80+% of the touches. I hope he holds up, because right now he is my number 4 Arizona Cardinal entering this season. He's been that good for them.
I agree with you on that. I like that. I think that when you talked about this earlier, your question was, who is the top 5 entering into training camp?
2022, my 5 best Cardinals.
Training camp, though.
What?
In the training.
Just 20. Like,
I thought you said into the train. I thought that's what you said, in the training.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I would hope that everybody that comes to training camp comes.
Kyler might not come to camp. Kyler might not make camp.
Yeah, does Rodney Hudson come to training camp? I don't know. All right, that's very good. Steve Frank comes on the show late, and he's picking apart my rundown and my verbiage. I don't appreciate that. I do appreciate your out-of-the-box mentality here. All right,
so
James.
Let me stay out of the box. All right, I'm out of the box. I'm going with Isaiah Simmons, first-round draft pick out of Clemson. Look, the kids made great strides from year 1 to year 2. Absolutely, not even heard of in year 1 for the little bit of time that he did play. And in year 2, he showed up to be pretty decent. Then we found out what we really can do with him in year 3. I'm looking forward to see what he looks like this year. I just like to say that I think he adds a lot to the table. Again, 6'5", 6'6" linebacker, rangy, needs a little more weight on him, very fast. You can put him in, you can put him on the outside, let him stand up sometimes. Once he figures out how to do that, that's going to be pretty special. This year, he's almost into a year, JV, where I look at his contract situation right now. He could be a guy that if he plays out and balls out well, gets a couple interceptions, he's somewhere between 75 and 110 tackles. Maybe add that to his resume, a couple forced fumbles, couple of sacks. I mean, you're looking at a guy that can go from 10 to 15 to $20 million pretty fast, because the upside of what we can expect of him, he would be my number 4 as going into training camp in regards to one of the best players on the Arizona Cardinals team.
Well, I don't agree with you. He is not in my top 5. I agree that the Cardinals would love for Isaiah Simmons to be a top 5 player on the roster. When they took him 8th overall 2 years ago, the assumption was he can be one of the best players not only on our team but in the NFL. That has not come to fruition yet. But again, you're hedging your bet on players that the Cardinals need to play well for them to win this year. And I like that strategy because I think Isaiah Simmons is a breakout candidate. Pro Football Focus had him as somebody to keep an eye on this year. If I had to pick one player to break out on each side of the ball, it's Rondale Moore and Isaiah Simmons. So I can't go away from there. And I respect your choices. I do not agree with them, however. Number 5 on my list. Number 5 on my list was another free agent acquisition, this time via a trade. It happened this offseason. It happened the Thursday of the NFL draft. My number 5 player for the Arizona Cardinals entering 2022 is Marquis Hollywood Brown, the only 1,000-yard receiver to begin the season with the Arizona Cardinals. People forget he had a best season last year as a member of the Baltimore Ravens. I think when push comes to shove, this season, we're hopeful. We want a playoff team. We want a division title. Even if this season goes awry and this team wins 7 games, this guy is going to ball out for this team. I think the camaraderie he has with Kyla Murray, how motivated he is. He's got a contract come due in a couple of years. Just the scheme fit. Geographically, he's going to be in a better place as opposed to just kind of rural Baltimore, cold weather, passing offense. I am so high on Hollywood Brown. Big plays. I think we're going to look back on this edition, and everybody who ripped it's going to say, you know what? Hindsight, that was a good move for the Cardinals. Made the quarterback happy. He's a really nice, dynamic receiver. He's going to have the ability to stretch the field. I think that's going to help everybody else, including Rondale and James Conner, so they can get theirs underneath. I'm so bullish on Hollywood Brown. I love that move the minute the Cardinals made it, and I think he's a top 5 player entering 2022 for this Arizona Cardinal team.
You're just as bullish as you was with Josh Rosen. So guess what? I'm not agreeing with this conversation.
You didn't know me then, so that's not fair. We didn't know each other back in 2018.
Hey, folks, check this out. This is what Johnny did today. You know, he's really pooped on my entire roster for the most part, except my Rondale Moore conversation. He says I'm going backdoor with it a little bit. I'm being a little bit off kilt. But check this out. This is what he said going into training camp. So I took the idea that the best players going into the training camp is the players that we will have on the roster that we know for a fact that'll be there. That will be the players that we can see and look forward to going into 2022. Yeah. I can't say that Kylie Murray will be in training camp because I'm not sure what the contract situation looks like. D-Hop's, he's going to be at camp, maybe not, but he's not going to be playing. So I couldn't put him on my list. J.J. Watt's probably not going to do a whole bunch in camp, but the names of the players I'm calling and the names that we're saying, I could agree. Buda Baker, Hollywood Brown, J.J. Watt. I could do the same thing with Kyla Murray, D-Hop. Those are my top 5. I agree. My 5 is your 5 on the best names. I didn't pick that. I picked the best players going into camp as well as going into the season. I think it might be. I did choose James Conner as number 1. Number 2, I did go Zach Ertz. Number 3, Rondale Moore. And number 4, Isaiah Simmons. But my number 5 pick, I had to go with defense, and I'm okay with that. I think B. Murphy right now, man. Going into training camp and watching what B. Murphy has B. Murphy has the opportunity to do and show where he can go, where he can grow in this defense as a leader. I'm looking for a great upside to him. I think that the Cardinals, he's going to be a great player for the Arizona Cardinals this year. I'm expecting him to rise to the level of Buda Baker. I'm expecting him to come to that next stage where he's the guy that shows he can be a lockdown corner. You can move him nickel or dime, or you can put him in one-on-one and move him with any receiver in the NFL. He has great size, great range, and he has good hands. And he would be my number 5 on this list.
I'll tell you what, I think Michael Bidwell would take your list because it means that a lot of their draft picks, Rondale Moore, Isaiah Simmons, Byron Murphy, have all panned out and are all blossoming. You only have one veteran outside acquisition on that list, being Zach Ertz. Again, unconventional. I don't hate it. We're going to talk about...
to follow the rules. I'm just trying to follow the rules.
Your rules are interpreted different than my rules, my friend. We're going to talk about our top 5 and our next 5 in the next segment, but I want to remind everybody, got a couple sponsors that we are just in love with here at PHNX. Yes. The first of which, the official brewing company, the official beer of PHNX is 4 Peaks. We were at 8th Street Pub a couple weeks back, having a good time, chugging a few cold ones. We're going to be back there in the coming weeks. Remember, you got to be 21 and older and enjoy it responsibly. We're going to crack some cold ones here as the Cardinals kick off their season right before training camp. And we're going to have 4 Peaks on tap. Can't wait to enjoy that, as well as OG's, who just launched their first ever limited edition seasonal flavor, that being pina colada, perfect pineapple and creamy coconut blend. Check out OG's online at ogbrands.com, on their Instagram at OG Brands. You can also find their products at your local dispensary. Just like our friends at Fort Peaks. With OGs, you got to be 21 years and older to purchase. You got to enjoy responsibly. And speaking of responsibility, Frank, COVID-19 vaccines are free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also eligible for the COVID vaccine booster. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest you. That's azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest you. Take my word for it. I was exposed to COVID a couple weeks back, thankfully. Vax boosted, feeling good. Little man's doing well as well. And yeah, man, doing fine. We hit the road. We're in Illinois. We're enjoying some family time before training camp. We're enjoying some Cardinal rankings before training camp. Frank and I just got done ranking our top 5 entering training camp. Frank's was let's call it what it is. You're going out on a limb and predicting big.
I'm following the rules, brother. I'm just following the rules. It says going into training camp, which is the top 5s going into training camp. These players I picked, I mean, honestly, athletically and what they bring to the table, what we expect them to bring to the table, what we've seen them bring to the table. Of course, some of these guys, I mean, outside of none of these guys, well, JC is the only top one that was a Pro Bowler, and everybody else is guys that have just transitioned to be some of the top players that we're expecting. I agree with you. You're talking about.
So you have James Conner as your number 1. You don't have Kyla Murray in your list.
No, as my number 1 player going into training camp. I'm not sure that Kyler's going to be at training camp if this deal doesn't get done. They're dragging it. There's no conversation out there about it. It looks like it doesn't look good. And the optics again is still you're holding your team hostage, and the mental stress that's on their mind. You know who's stressful right now? If Kyler's not signed, Trace Mcsorley, our backup quarterback situation. You start looking at those guys saying they're going into training camp because the starting quarterback hasn't gotten signed, and they don't come to a deal. Are they arguing that his contract, he wants a guaranteed contract, the same thing that Deshaun got, or we're waiting on Lamar Jackson to sign his contract? Those are the things that's out there happening behind closed doors. The Cardinals keeping a closed mouth to the whole conversation, man. You know, Steve Keim's not saying nothing. Kyler's not saying anything. But in respects to just the mentality of the team right now, those guys I named are the guys that I think that they will make this team that much better. Those are the top 5 players going into camp that I think will, escalate this bunch to the next level.
Picking Spreads asks, you think the Cardinals sign J.C. Treader if Rodney Hudson does not play? I wouldn't rule out Picking Spreads. Everything that I've heard, and again, I've been on this for about a month now. I was given notice that Rodney Hudson does not plan on playing this year, that he has told the Cardinals he plans to retire and not play football in 2022. With that being said, I know the Cardinals were hopeful to kind of coax him into playing. I don't know if that's a great strategy, especially if you saw how animated Cliff Kingsbury was during OTAs, just ahead of training camp. I will say this. It will be an egregious error by general manager Steve Keim, knowing that in your own division, the San Francisco 49ers do not have an established center. Coincidentally, their center, Alex Mack, retired at the start of free agency. If the Cardinals were to lose out to a J.C. Treader, to San Francisco, and then de facto have egg on their face without having Rodney Hudson in-house, that would be a horrific look for Steve Keim. So I would hope that Steve Keim, behind the scenes, and it's been a very quiet offseason for the Cardinals, especially this summer, has somebody in mind on speed dial the moment that they 100% know what Rodney Hudson plans to do. And I believe he plans to retire and not play football in 2022. Josh Hunt asking Mr. Frank Sanders, at what point do we hit the panic button in Murray's contract negotiations? You are saying you are ready to panic. I am not. From what I've heard, those conversations are going well. That's going to get done. I would not be surprised if the Cardinals try to couple what's happening with Rodney Hudson and the negative press there with positive press as it relates to Kyler Murray and his extension. Training camp starts for veterans, I believe, on July 26th. It's July 5th today. We still have 3+ weeks to go. Deadlines spur deals. Has anybody ever heard that? I think Andrew Brandt, former Cap GM of the Green Bay Packers, once said that. So the closer we get to training camp, the more sense of urgency that Keim and, more importantly, Michael Bidwell will have to get this contract done. So, I mean, everybody's in a lull period right now. The NFL news cycle rarely takes time off. Right now, as we await training camp, I think, again, Kyler Murray's extension will come before training camp, Frank.
I just think about the mental psyche of your team and your makeup of what you're trying to get accomplished. I told you like one time we asked what does the Cardinals need to do, and I told you we need to hit a real refresh button on Kyla Murray. We need to really do a rebranding of why we think he's our $40-something million to $55 million quarterback over the next 4 or 5 years. And I think that part right now dragging out is not helping us. And that to me, I think we're wasting our time. You need to start putting in the washing the minds of the Arizona Cardinals fan base of what happened last year, and also what happened in the postseason, to thinking about what your future is going to look like and what it's going to be like with Kyler Murray under the helm, knowing you're paying your starting quarterback somewhere between $45 and $55 million, and pretty much he's going to ask for it to be guaranteed. We understand that to be the kind of the narrative. Whatever happened to one player, and the next guy's coming up for his contract, he's going to ask for a little bit more, and pretty much the same things in his contract. So quarterback on quarterback, Kyle's definitely asking for something that's guaranteed and out of the ballpark figure. That might be something that we're not even talking about. He might be in the range of trying to do some astronomical 55 to 65 because he thinks he's the next coming. And that's just where the money market's going. I know it sounds crazy, but the market is always moving. We never thought that one quarterback would have transition from, we talked about Aaron Donald went to $30 million for the defensive line. You think the next defensive end, a defensive tackle that balls out, doesn't think he deserves $31 million a year? Yeah, he's going to argue for that. And that's how the needle moves in the NFL, JB. So I'm nervous about Kyler Murray because I don't think we're taking the time serious enough to really rebrand him, remarket him, and put him in it and put a new vision out there for him in regards to the Arizona Cardinal fan base. That taste in our mouth the last couple of games, and then also, look, he lost to Russell Wilson at home. Our record stunk at home and I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but the Cardinals had over 30 points in that game at home.
I mean, oh my God, you're putting potpourri, man, on some poop.
I was in person in Dallas. Dallas playoff team. Kyler Murray, no DeAndre Hopkins, no DJ Humphries. I don't think that game. They were missing players left and right. Dallas was humming. They were about to clinch the NFC East. They got stars everywhere, and Kyler Murray thoroughly outplayed Dak Prescott with Antoine Wesley. His ability, is he as polished as some of these other guys? No. Does he need to stay healthy? Of course. He is a firm top 10 quarterback, whether you got him 5 or 10. He is in that group, and that group commands now the going rate is $40+ million. So if you have to pay a little bit more right now, in a year or two from now, if he's playing well and other guys are getting paid, Joe Burrow, etc., it's going to look like a discount because he's that good. And speaking of that good, the next 5 on our top 5 players entering training camp. Again, Frank's list, if you missed it, here it is. Frank Sanders had James Conner, Zach Ertz, Rondale Moore, Isaiah Simmons, and Byron Murphy as his top 5 Cardinals entering training camp. A big fat asterisk with Kyler Murray because he doesn't know if Kyler Murray's showing up to training camp. My list, number 1, K1. Buda Baker, number 2, DeAndre Hopkins, number 3, James Conner, number 4, Hollywood Brown, the new acquisition receiver, number 5. Frank, I didn't put these guys in order, but this is my next 5. So whatever order you want to put these guys in, okay, I believe these are the next 5. And I think any one of these guys could have been 4 or 5 on my original list. But here we go. Jalen Thompson, the 5th round supplemental safety, has been fantastic. One of the few players the Cardinals have hit on late in the drafted and developed him once upon a time out of Washington State. Great player. Marcus Golden, outside linebacker, coming off a double-digit sack season. Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals have very little sure things in their front 7, right? Mm-hmm. Marcus Golden is one of them, goes about his business. One of the most underrated Cardinals of really the past decade. Somebody asked in the chat if we could do a top 5 underrated Cardinals. I know if we did, Marcus Golden would be on that list. I would also include Zach Ertz. As you mentioned, the Cardinals haven't had a 1,000-yard receiving tight end, I think, since Jackie Smith. And I do think, our buddy out of Colorado State's going to get his this year. But, I mean, if he gets enough targets, I think Zach Ertz could sniff 1,000 yards receiving. Trey McBride, we'll see. I'm very enthusiastic about him. But, if he hits a rookie wall, it's Zach Ertz is going to dominate that position. Rodney Hudson is going to be in my top 10 until he officially retires, right? I did not play by the same rules as you. I don't think he's going to be at training camp because I don't think he's going to play for the Cardinals this year. But he's on the team right now. They have not put him on the retired list. If by some miracle Rodney Hudson plays for the Cardinals this year, He is a top 10 player on this team. He's unequivocally their best offensive lineman. So he is in my top 10. And to round out that group, somebody that once upon a time we thought was going to change the culture here, and he's done a lot of great stuff off the field, needs to stay healthy. J.J. Watt would be a top 10 player for me. No Chandler Jones, right? I think J.J. Watt takes the baton here. Listen, I said this earlier. If J.J. Watt stays healthy with Kyler Murray, if we get 17 games from both those guys, I'll put $500 down right now. The Cardinals are a playoff team. With JJ, it's not about ability. Just like with Kyler, it's not about ability. It's about availability. Can they stay healthy? So my next group of guys, Jalen Thompson, Marcus Golden, Rodney Hudson, J.J. Watt, Zach Ertz, whatever order you want to put them in, Mr. Frank Sanders. That is my group of we're going into the season, and those are my foxhole guys, the best Cardinals for 2022.
I like your list, man. I tagged in with you a little bit on a couple of guys. I did have Jalen Thompson on that list, and I'd like to say my honorable mentions, my top 5 of my honorable mention list, man, is going to be, I want to bring Xavien Collins into the picture. I think it's his time for him to rise and shine. He has no real competition right now. He has to be the guy that we want him to be. He's JV's top pick. Everyone knows you were high on him, extremely high on him last year.
I don't know if I am now.
You got time. I tell you, man, the transition to the NFL is hard, guys, and we try to emphasize that sometimes. I know as a fan, and me being a fan of the team, I have to back away a little bit and say that there's certain parts of the positions that you have to play. Xavien Collins came in, and I think he learned a lot from Jordan Hicks. I hope he did, and I hope he becomes the number 1 draft pick that we want him to be. I think he has that opportunity. I want to add to that list. My pick, I threw Hollywood Brown on it because I'm not necessarily 100% sold on that. He did 1,000 yards last year without a full season of Lamar Jackson, and Hundley was there, and he still was able to put up 1,000 yards. That's great. Again, Mark Andrews on that team is the number 1 receiver because he's the tight end. But I got HB on my group, Jalen Thompson, Trace McSorley, the backup quarterback out of B. Moore. Look, can run, can throw, athletic. He's one of the guys that I didn't want to bring up. I know it sounds crazy, Jay.
You've lost me. You've lost me.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. If Kyla, again, I didn't think Kyla was going to be at camp. So, and I think that
McCoy, he's the backup.
Man, again, no. This is the part where we saw Colt McCoy become a sitting duck when we lost Kyla Murray. Of course, he gave us 1 game, but after that, he wasn't that guy. So I went Trace McSorley as a name to add to the table. Also, Zach Allen, our D tackle, big guy, got to come up and play. Made a lot of good plays last year. Fumble recovery for touchdown, interception. Look, big guy. It's time to rise to the occasion. Going into camp, I think he adds a voice. He's had an opportunity a year to study J.J. Watt, leadership, engine, passion for the game, how to command the locker room. And I think that he could be a guy that, could add some punch and fire to this team going into the year in the 22 season.
Quite the list from Mr. Frank Sanders. Wouldn't expect anything less here on PHNX Cardinals podcast. I want to remind everybody, be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. Oh, what kind of hijinks you've got going on over there? Let's hear from
This is my cell phone, brother. I'm amazed.
I appreciate that. Jordan Peace, and I agree with this. Seems like Frank's list is guys he wants to step up. And I agree. If I had a step up list quickly off the top of my head, it would include an Isaiah Simmons. Like, hey, Isaiah Simmons, you need to be an All-Pro this year, or Pro Bowler. You were drafted.
He's a starter.
10.
He's a starter.
Okay.
All the guys
all
the guys I picked on my list of starters. They're going to be starters on this team. The only one that I didn't is Trace McSorley, and I added him in because I thought that, look, I'm not sold on Colt McCoy. I know he got all the brains and all the whistles, but he's damn near 90. I don't care about quarterback.
Because if Kyler Murray goes down, I love everybody in this chat. I love Colt McCoy. The season is going kaput. If you don't have Kyler Murray, you ain't winning shit. The season is over. It's Kyler Murray's team. That's why he's number 1. Jordan P., you didn't think I missed this comment snuck in there. AJ Green is in there at top 10. No, AJ Green, I like that call, though, Jordan. I would sit his ass for Antoine Wesley. Cardinals, younger, faster, more athletic. Xavien Collins is somebody else I would put on that top 5, need to step up. I love Byron Murphy. I'm not going to dog Byron Murphy on this podcast. Byron Murphy, friend of the program, had him on during the NFL draft. I think he needs to refine his game a little bit more, but I've seen Byron Murphy play really well. Zach Allen is somebody I would put on the list. Time to step up, because really the Cardinals, to me, do not have an heir apparent to Watt after Watt is presumably done after this year. Like their defensive line group. I mean, if Watt goes down again, that is a bunch of spare parts and late draft picks. That's not great.
Not gonna be good.
I'm concerned about the middle of this defense with the inside backers and the defensive line and the uncertainty with Chandler Jones. You notice my list. I have my list put together here. Most of them are offensive guys. And most of the guys that are not on this list that I'm high on, like our favorite tight end out of Colorado State, they're young offensive players. They're not young defensive players. The Cardinals, I think, are going to have to commit, outside of the offensive line, a lot of quality resources and high draft picks on the defensive side and pray to God they hit on them, because if the Cardinals go south this year, based on our two lists combined, which were mostly offensive guys, it's Vance Joseph is going to be the scapegoat. Vance Joseph is not going to survive 2022 if the Cardinals don't make the playoffs, because I think the defense will be a big part of that collapse. But thank you, Mr. Frank Sanders, for subbing in today. For those of you who don't know, Frank is usually on Thursdays and Fridays. Damien's on vacation. Bo's on vacation. But we're here grinding on PHNX Cardinals podcast every day because we love it. Cardinal Sin saying, I love Watt, but I feel nowadays it's not if Watt goes down, but when. I would say to that, Cardinal Sin, if I could sign up for 13 games of J.J. Watt and him missing 4 games, I would sign up for that right now. If I could almost be guaranteed that he only misses 4 games, I would sign up for that, Frank.
4 in the beginning, not in the end. We need him in the back end.
Well, just kind of sprinkled all over, like one per quarter of the season.
You know, it's funny, man, but just the position he's at, we're looking at a guy whose legs have been strong, his body's been pretty healthy. It's just one part, that top part, that jamming arm, that elbow that you got to take. And unfortunately, he's just in that stage of the game and career where those joints, they just don't work the same. And he has to find a better way to use his body and his speed. He probably needs to drop about 20-pound guys and just become a fast guy around the edges, start dropping his shoulder and working on the dip, not taking so much more of the body, the hand-to-hand combat that he does. And so that's something that I wish he learns as he gets into camp. He looks slimmer. I saw the picture we posted. I saw he looked really good. He looked very trimmed and with no body fat. So hopefully he'll take that under his belt this year going into the season and feel that he needs to lose weight. Like most guys, when we get older, JV, we gotta lose weight, brother. Gotta lose weight and gotta get into that game.
I was in the gym earlier today on that lab work, the grind, trying to get the body right for this season, just like J.J. Watt. I have a picture here. I'm going to see if I can upload it in real time. Producer Emma, don't be mad at me because it's not pretty with a graphic and overlay, but this was just posted by J.J. Watt's wife on Twitter. They're on vacation right now. It's uploading here. I'm going to pull it up here. There's Mr. J.J. Watt, looking pretty svelte, right? He said this was before he's about to down a bunch of tacos, which is well-deserved. But I don't know where they're at, some kind of tropical getaway. I am in not rural Illinois, but I am in central Illinois where the humidity is melting my face off. I miss the desert. I miss all of you, but I'm excited to see family and friends and everybody here, family and friends. PHNX Cardinal fandom, faithful brethren, if you will. Become a member at gophnx.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. I have been told, Bo Brock, we're our Midwestern brothers right now. He's in Iowa. I'm in Illinois. Supposedly he gets back from Iowa tomorrow. He might be on. He might not be on. But we're going to be here regardless, having a good time. It's a beach. Where is the beach, Sly? Do we know where the beach is, where Watt is? Remember when Watt invited everybody to a bar and just had a good time? Wouldn't it be cool if he was like, I'm at this beach, everybody come hang out with me? But I don't think he's in America. I think he's on location. I think he's out of the country.
I hope so. I hope he's out of weight, man, taking care of himself, man, getting his body right. I do. He looked good, man. He looks really good.
Everybody go grab yourself 4 peaks. Make your own top 5 Cardinal list. See if you agree, disagree with us. We'll repost our top 5 in graphic form after the show with a link to download. Please, everybody, as I knock my mic over, be sure to like, subscribe, download the podcast. Would really help us out as we prepare for the 2022 season. Training camp just around the corner. For Frank Sanders, I'm Johnny Venerable. We will see you mañana. Bye, everybody.